Well, folks, I'm here with my good friend Matt Tait, who is the CEO of Decimal. Matt, welcome to the podcast.
Joe, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, we brought you on because you have a big announcement to make. But before you tell everybody what the big announcement is, I'd like to get a little bit of Decimal's story, so they have some context for
Yeah.
this announcement. Can you kind of take us back to the beginning? You know, what were you building from the beginning, and then we'll kind of get into what are you trying to build now.
Yeah, so that's a great question. I mean, for us, we started Decimal in January of 2020. And we started it because me as an entrepreneur, I had always struggled with the kind of accounting and bookkeeping side of my businesses. And so we really set out to start a tech enabled bookkeeping or CAS practice and to grow it, I would say, as big and as fast as we could with as many capabilities as possible. But the thing is we were also doing something in addition to that. We were building along parallel paths. And what we were building was an operating system to just make doing this work better. And when I say operating system, this isn't technology. This isn't just some subscription. It's truly the labor, the people, the systems around that. It is the technology that we use off the shelf, the technology that we build above and around that, and it's all the processes that go into everything. So simultaneously we were building two things, and we made some acquisitions. We bought that company from KPMG Spark a few years ago that gave us some technology capabilities, also gave us a nice tax team. And we made some other firm acquisitions and looked at even doing more. But for us, we were building kind of those two capabilities, which were how do we kind of create that really good experience and also do it in a way that was scalable quickly.
Now that's the goal of a lot of our listeners here. So I'm sure
It
they'd
is.
be interested to know what were the big learnings along the way. What did experience teach you building out something like that?
Let me give you a couple of experiences from the client side and from the internal. From the client side, we started telling people, hey, we're tech enabled. We're going to help you with your technology. We realized that businesses just really don't care. They want really great output. They want to pay their bills, get paid, and track it all. And they don't necessarily care about the technology, and they don't care about the
So
accounting.
does that
They
apply
just
to
want
the
it
way
done.
they engage you, though? Do they appreciate that they can access you in a mobile environment or that they can digitally upload their
Absolutely.
documents? Do they care?
I would say they appreciate it when they're doing it and using it. When they're buying, what they're
Hmm.
buying is trust, credibility, and accountability.
That's
They're
huge.
buying the relationship.
Yeah.
They're buying the humanistic side. They do want the other stuff. Like that stuff is really important. By the way, if you're going to run a bookkeeping firm, it's really important that you get the bookkeeping right. Just hard stop.
Yeah. Last time I checked, that is kind of critical.
But
Yeah.
it's not why people buy. And I think that's where people get confused. On the internal side, what we really learned was how important it is to really care about the team, but then to structure work in a way that is deterministic. Because what I find is if you allow accountants to have flexibility to do work, they're going to do all the work. At Decimal, with our firm, we didn't let our US accounting staff do accounting work. They were entirely there to manage relationships and to advise the clients, to make the clients happy, to be that trust, accountability, credibility. And really breaking the work apart and figuring out the best ways to use technology and to use labor to do all of that was really, really important.
And then for
And it was
those
something
who
that we
don't know the
learned.
story, the work was being done by your employed workers in the Philippines. You weren't using an intermediary company. You actually stood up an operation there, correct?
We partnered with somebody, but yes, they were our employees. They were our people that were doing the work in the Philippines,
And why did you
and
go
and
that
it
route, Matt, instead of using sort of a traditional outsourced provider? What were the benefits of going through that extra hassle of employing foreign employees, international employees?
well, it's the way I look at it is in the U.S. I'm a big fan of having a PEO and of being able to have the benefits, not having to be my own HR, doing all that stuff. That's where the partnership came in. Was we kind of took that same tact. I think that it's really important when you have your own team to be able to train them exactly how you want them to do the work. I don't care where it is. To me, I don't care where people live. I don't care what country they're from, what language they speak, as
You
long
just
as they
want to
can
be able to
also speak
manage
English.
them and lead them. Yes.
I want them to be able to work within our system and to be able to be trained in that system to continuously improve. And that level of, call it control, but I would say nuance, I think is really important.
Yeah. And you know what I'm also seeing too, and we're not here to talk about outsourcing strategies, but I've seen that if you're directly employing those folks, you have less employee turnover, and
You
you
do.
can compensate people better because you don't have the intermediary company in the middle creating value, but also expecting money for that value they create. So it's
Yeah.
more pie to share around between you and the team members. But the biggest takeaway there is for somebody that may be considering something like that, you used an employer of record kind of situation, so, which
Correct.
we do here as well, where we don't employ internationally, but we employ in 14 different states. I couldn't imagine being the employer of record in 14 states, nonetheless the Philippines.
Oh, all the nuances. And, that actually led us as kind of a random aside, and we can dive into this later at another date, but we are also offering to do this for other firms. So
Oh,
if
yes. Well,
anybody
that's
wants to
exactly where I
hire,
wanted
we
to carry the
can.
conversation. So you've pivoted now. So if you can give me the big announcement, let's talk about the pivot, and then you can talk about how you're going to be helping firms with that, not just the Philippines, but so much more. So let's take it one step at a time. Tell us what happened recently. What's the big transaction?
So one thing that if you've seen anything about us on LinkedIn, you know that starting last year we started franchising our business. I talked about the parallel paths that we walked. And the second path was that operating system. And we really thought that it was important to be able to take that operating system and be able to give it to people, to be able to look at small firm owners and say, hey, we want to be able to empower you to be better. And we started our first few firms at the very end of last year, beginning of this year. But we also had what everybody thinks of as Decimal, this really big firm that we grew really, really fast, really big over the last 6 years. And the big news is we sold that firm so that we could go all in on franchising.
So
So
now you
Decimal
are
today,
strictly just empower those that do.
we are entirely an empowerment company now. Our
Okay.
entire mission is to empower small firm owners to run their businesses better, to give them that operating system, the labor, the back office support, the systems, the technology. Everything is the complete picture of things.
And
And you probably
why
heard
make
this.
that pivot? I mean,
Oh,
you were very successful as a modern CAS practice. You had established a national reputation as being on the bleeding edge. You had the not shared service center, but you had the service center stood up in the Philippines. You were positioned to scale this CAS
yeah,
practice in a world where that's a highly profitable, as it becomes more and more AI driven. And then when the time is right, people are buying up standalone CAS practices, very quickly and at a very high valuation. So
there.
why stop all those gears and move into franchising? What's the vision?
To me, it's focus and impact. We can have a greater impact on the industry and on small businesses by empowering small firm owners. And
It's a
by
multiplier. Yeah.
it is a multiplier. I can, by the time we'd sold the Decimal firm, the direct services business, let me pause there because I want to redo that one.
Yep.
By the time we sold our direct services business, we had helped over 1,000 clients. So think about that. Over 6 years, we did grow it super fast. And we serviced over 1,000 clients during that time. And these are not small clients. These are two, three, $4,000 a month bookkeeping controllership clients. And that was great. But if we can help 1,000 firms, each help 100 businesses, that's a lot more.
Yes.
And that's what you, Joe, have talked to so many farm owners. I talked to a woman the other day, and this is a story I hear too often. And she said, I've never taken a spring break with my kids,
Hmm.
and I'm afraid I'll never be able to. And I said, look, when you sign up with us, my goal is that next year you take a spring break without your computer because you'll have the support to be able to do that. We want to help turn these firm owners into business owners. Too often they're doers. They have
Yes.
to balance so many things. They're doing so much of the work. We want to make them business owners where the only things they have to focus on are client relationships, advising those clients, and selling new business. That is where a firm owner, a business owner needs to be able to
Right.
focus
They're not
their time and effort.
bookkeepers. They own bookkeeping companies, or they're not tax preparers. They
Yep.
own tax firms, tax shops. And then, of course, if they're CAS, they're not CAS workers. They own CAS practices, and that's really ultimately the goal here. So I get the goal now. What does it look like? You've got this operating system. You've used that word a couple of
Yep.
times. What does the operating system look like? Kind of break it down at least at a level 1 or level 2 outline, and that way people can be encouraged to know, if I get this, I can see a light at the end of the tunnel. But break it down.
So it starts with all the playbooks, how we do things. And the training is how to be a decimal firm. And it comes with an infrastructure. So it starts with the technology infrastructure, the data side of things. They use all of our systems. We've built systems on top of it. We're building AI agents in a very real, meaningful way. Great example of an AI agent that is deployed today that our firm owners are loving is a pricing agent. We loaded all of our sales knowledge that we'd gained, transcripts of calls, proposals, into an agent. And so now when one of our firm owners has a conversation with a small business owner, they load that conversation into the agent and say, what do you think I should do next? And it says, here's what I think you should offer. Here's where I think you should price it. Here are the other offerings. And by the way, you may get this pushback if you want this. Here are similar clients. So we're creating these helpers, these agents to do the work too. So there's the technology, but it's not just technology. We're helping with the back office, with recruiting staff in the Philippines, recruiting US staff. We're doing the billing. We're doing everything for them that we possibly can. And then 3, we're providing continuous labor. Our teams in the Philippines are doing the bookkeeping, the month-end close, the bill pay, so that the staffing that these firm owners need is much, much less than the staffing that they would need in a traditionally run practice or firm. So it's everything. They also have a community, a support system. One of the coolest things that we've seen so far, and we were hoping that we would start to see this, but it's happened really quickly, is our firm owners are referring business to each other. One has a tax background and the others don't. And so we're having the ones without it say, hey, we can offer tax to our clients through you. Exit planning is a skill set of Jay, our Kansas City firm owner. And so people are referring him exit planning engagements. It's this community of support where they're working together in addition to running their own business. That is also a really kind of cool aspect of it. So to me, Joe, when you ask what is the operating system, it's designed to be everything necessary to run a firm, from labor, technology, systems, processes, agents, and a community.
And it sounds like brand as well, because you said you become a decimal firm. So it sounds like you have
You
the
become a
brand
decimal
managed.
firm.
Yeah.
We do, and even the firm owners that we are transforming. So we have firm owners that are coming to us and saying, "Hey, we're running a firm today, and that woman that wants to take a spring break, she's got a really decent sized firm, and she's going to transform it into a decimal firm because she wants to be able to be a business owner and not a bookkeeper." And I think that
That's
that's a really important thing is we're looking for that small firm feel, but all the big firm capabilities.
Yeah, I love that. Small firm, big firm capabilities. So it's like, kind of attaching to a larger vehicle there, and being able to go farther, scale better. And then I would
Yep.
think too that when somebody's ready to exit, there's a much higher propensity that a decimal franchisee would buy another decimal franchisee. So it could theoretically, because I know you haven't been doing this long enough to necessarily know, but theoretically
Right.
it could facilitate exit and succession.
Absolutely. We want to encourage people to sell their firm. If they want to get
If
out and
that's
sell their firm,
if that's where they are in their life cycle.
yeah.
Yeah.
To me, a big part of this is looking at accounting firm owners, bookkeeping firm owners, and saying, look, We want to empower you to your ideal outcome. Too many people, I think, in this industry get stuck and feel stuck. If you want to sell, we want to help.
Mm.
And we have no promises on what it'll look like and what we can do. But guess what? We sold our firm, the direct services business, and we sold it for a really, really good multiple. We want to be able to help you sell, and whether it's to a new franchisee, an investor that wants to buy, a new firm owner, there are a lot of opportunities that we want to help people explore, but we're looking for that ideal outcome. And if that ideal outcome is spring break next year, great. If that ideal outcome is sell in 3 or 4 years, great. This is a community that wants to work with you to do that.
All right. So if somebody is interested in this kind of a program, basically all the platform, if you want to use that word, all the CAS platform is there, and all the technologies there, ongoing, continuous improvement loops there, scaled staffing there, pricing there, brand, sales support. I mean, it sounds like a dream ticket, but who's the ideal candidate? Who would actually need this and want this and find the economics to work?
I think it's two main groups of people. Number one is somebody that wants to start a firm and doesn't want to have to go through all of the pain and suffering to figure out how to do it the right way
So
and
the shingle
how to
hanger.
run everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, that shingle hanger, I think it's a very good economical opportunity for them. Number two is like that woman that wants spring break, the small firm owner who feels stuck. They've
It
maybe
probably has been
tried,
stuck for decades. Yeah.
and it could be, what I find is there are a lot of people that will join multiple communities. They'll take classes. They have the best of intentions to transform their business, but then the business gets in the way and they just get busy. And for me, we can come in and help transform that business and very quickly turn them into a business owner and give them the opportunity to grow to their own outcome. And that outcome is usually I want to work this much and make this much. Great.
Mm.
Let's see how we can work together to get you to that position and give you the opportunity to look. So to me, we're looking for those people that want to transform their practice. Here's the thing about what we're doing too is it's still your business ownership. You own the company. This is your business. And I'm going to keep saying company because I want people to start to feel empowered to be a business owner. I don't, when we're going to go to Scaling New Heights in a couple of months, and I'm going to talk to so many people that will introduce themselves as bookkeepers or controllers. I want firm owners to say, I'm a business owner, and that business just happens to be bookkeeping.
Yes, I own a bookkeeping business. I own a controllership services business.
Yes.
That mindset is absolutely huge, and it affects how they approach their work, but it also affects how they approach their value, how they plan
As human beings. Yes.
strategically. It's the game changer for everything. And okay, so what I've heard kind of throughout, the common theme here is the standard people systems process. People systems process. I mean, those are your big three pillars of any business. And
Yes.
and I've heard you've got the people thing, you've got the process, it's all documented, and the process is being automated with AI. And you have the systems. Systems would be all of your technology platform as well as the AI enablement of that platform. So, and it's for lack of a better word, it's sort of like people systems process in a box, which I know
It is.
it's a loaded way
I
to
mean,
frame it, but that's kind of the way it is.
it's loaded and it's quaint, but we say it all the time.
Yeah.
It's, you can buy your firm in a box. And somebody asked me there the other day, they said, how do we know it works? And I said, the fact that we sold our firm and we sold it for a really good multiple, that's your proof.
And you also have franchisees that are present using the system. So it's not theoretical.
We have franchisees that are operating. They are extremely happy. You can publicly start to find their names. They would love to all three of them talk. We have more joining every month. Like this for us is a mission to create a community of firm owners that work together to run the right type of business.
So they would not be patient zero. Somebody else's, you are probably your own patient zero. right? But they
I've
wouldn't
been
need to
patient
be.
zero for 6 years.
Yeah, exactly. So they're not patient zero. They're definitely
Correct.
not. This is not MVP. This is in market. They would be maybe franchisee number 4 or 5 or 6 or 10, depending on when they jump in over the next few months. So that says to me lower risk and higher first mover advantage. You can get in on this opportunity a lot earlier. And just for everybody to know, this is not a sponsored deal. I believe in Matt, and Matt's telling me what he's up to, and I've invited him to come. So it kind of sounds like we're selling Decimal here. We're not. We're just telling the Decimal story on this podcast. This isn't sponsored or anything. But the reason I wanted to bring you on, Matt, and I'll let you kind of comment on this when I finish, is
Yeah.
we've been coaching hundreds of firms for almost a decade, and we find that two things happen. Either they're able to take what we coach them to do, and through their own loops of continual improvement, they're able to break out of the pattern. And then we find that there are a lot of people, and unfortunately, it's more people who fall out of the coaching program. And for whatever reason, life happens, or just they didn't have the capacity, the attention, the elements weren't right. There's a tremendous amount of fall off where people wanted to do it, desired to do it, saw the need to do it, but
Right.
could not actually get across the finish line, no matter how good our systems are. And we've got great systems, and how good our coaches are. And we have great coaches. They needed to be attached to that larger energy, that larger organism. And so, folks, the reason I'm bringing Matt on is because, especially if you were in our coach program and found that you couldn't make it happen, you couldn't manifest it in your practice, I want you to feel hope. And it's my job to empower you. And that's to give you all the options that might empower you. And that includes making sure you know what Decimal's up to on their side of the
Well, and
fence.
Joe, let me make a couple of comments on that,
Yeah.
because I want to say there's no judgment
No, no, no.
either.
It's just circumstance.
And for me, running a business is hard, and running a bookkeeping business can be even harder. And
It's brutal.
doing it in a way that gives you, like, if you want to be able to transform your business, you need space to do it. You need time to do it. And so many people are just so busy because they've done so well, but they're capped. It's kind of like your greatest gift of being busy and good at what you do can be the greatest negative drain on your business, because it doesn't give you the space to continuously improve. And
Or even live
for
your life.
me,
Yeah.
or even live your life. Like, for me, this is all about empowering people to be their best selves. And you and I have always seen eye to eye on how these firms should run, and I've always loved your guys' coaching, because it coaches to a lot of what we were doing, and we came to the same kind of end goal, differently.
Well, and that's exactly
And
how this whole thing happened. That's why you're on this podcast. Is we began sharing notes. We began comparing
yeah,
what you're building to what we coach do, and we saw that there was, conceptually, we're about 90% overlap. It's just execution, and really it comes down to, does a firm want to self implement, or and grow independently? There's a term out there, fiercely independent, and I think fiercely is important, because if you want to be independent and you're not fierce about it, it's not going to work in today's environment. I want to actually ask you a question about that sort of larger environment here to wrap up. But in today's
yeah,
environment, you have to be fiercely independent. And there are some firms, Matt, you've seen them, you know who they
yeah,
are. They're in our coach program. They're thriving. They're fiercely independent. They're entrepreneurial. They want to go build something that's in their own container, and that is powerful. I love case studying those folks, and I love coaching them. They're going to be all over the halls of Scaling New Heights. And
yeah,
without any judgment about success or failure, it's about circumstances. Some people's circumstances, they just have too big of a headwind, or they don't have the kind of capital, or they don't have the kind of leadership, or they're not able to retain the kind of leadership necessary around them. It's whatever those circumstances are that you need to evaluate, listener, that are causing you not to be able to be successfully, fiercely independent. Maybe you're independent, maybe you're fierce about it, but you're not able to actually break
fiercely.
through into significant profit into work-life harmonization, into the kind of culture you want to build, the kind of team consistency you want to build, the kind of quality controls you want to build, the kind of modern technology you want to build. And if you're finding yourself in that kind of a frustration point, then maybe something that breaks the wheel is something you should entertain. And that's why I want you to hear from Matt today. So first, I'll let you comment on that, and then I want to get your thoughts on this larger environment that everybody's living in, whether it's AI, M&A, private equity. But first, any comments on what I just said about fiercely independent?
I call those lions and tigers and bears of the accounting industry.
Okay, that's
You know,
right.
for me, it's so I love Fiercely Independent, and anybody that knows me or follows me on LinkedIn can directly understand that I am somebody that believes in Fiercely Independent with every fiber of my being. I think it's the first time Joe and I have ever talked that I'm not wearing a hoodie, but I refuse to take the hat off.
Yeah.
I want people to be able to be fiercely independent as decimal firms. They are their own firm owners, they are their businesses, but they're doing it together. Community is not something that you have to do without being fiercely independent. You can do both. And we want people that want to wear that t-shirt and maybe the hat too.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I think that I love that premise. I just want to give people the ability to make it easier on themselves. Let the decimal team, let us handle the hard parts. Let you handle the trust, credibility, and accountability that will never go away.
And I'm going
We
to add to
are
that the coaching, the mentorship, the
the
judgment, the
coaching, the
wisdom.
mentorship,
That's your
all of it.
client. Yes.
They are all of ours. And guess what? We're going to be doing some stuff with Woodard too and joining some of the coaching sessions. And we want this community is larger than just decimal. This community is everybody. We all have to work together. We have to bring the best parts of ourselves to each aspect of it. This is, I cannot even, I hope my passion is coming through because I
Yeah, it's
really
starting
feel
to.
strongly about this. Like, I want people to be successful, and we are entering what I think is going to be one of the craziest and coolest times to be an accountant. But it's also a dangerous time
That's it.
because things are changing so fast. And I think two of the biggest ones are we talk about AI. And we can talk about whether AI is really there and what it's doing and
It's
who's
a
using
mixture of
it and
hype
who's
and
using it
reality.
well.
That's the honest thing. Yeah.
I think that's the
And
best
some of it's
assessment.
just understanding the difference between the two. You got to be able to discern
Yeah.
that.
And that's a big thing to discern. And we've been on the very leading edge of all AI implementation, from implementing new ledgers to workflows to building our own agents. That is what we do really, really well. In fact, I'll be on the main stage at Scaling New Heights talking about exactly that. But it's an opportunity to take the industry and say, hey, we can be advisors. We can help businesses move forward. We can help them think not just about the past and what happened, but we can help them plan for the future, each one of their futures individually. That's what AI is going to enable us to do. It is going to have a very serious impact on our industry. Who knows if it's going to be fully baked in the next 2 to 3 years, but it's coming. And that's a good thing. These are
It's not
better
an if, it's
tools.
when. Yes.
There's I looked at an AI image somebody put up the other day, which was an ostrich with its head in the ground at a stampede saying that won't save you.
Yeah.
Saying you're not going to use AI you will be that ostrich. But there's a good way, there's a right way, there's understanding the hype, and then there's just saying, hey, how can I embrace
And a
this?
lot of this too is the responsible way. And you've got an entire team that's looking into
Yes.
privacy, data security, making
Fully
sure
SOC 2
that all of the
certified.
doors you open up are protected, encoded. So there's this peace of mind of knowing too that when I'm inside the decimal infrastructure, I've got
It's
IT
safe.
support.
Safe as it can be.
Yeah, safe as it can be. I mean, nobody can say 100% safe, but it's safer. You know,
Yes.
just like whenever I used to work with teenagers, I used to say there's no such thing as safe sex. There's safer sex. If you're going to have sex outside of marriage, so yeah, this not so no such thing as safe technologies. There's just safer technology, and
I think you're
but
exactly
it's
right.
good to know that
And
somebody's built this safe zone, so it's as safe as you can be, right?
yeah, and The other piece of this that I think is coming for the industry, and we hear a lot about it, that's private equity, and that's the roll-up wave. And I'm not going to lie, we made our own acquisitions. We looked at doing it ourselves. Ultimately, we decided we would have a bigger impact empowering independence, empowering the small firm owner. What's going to come for this industry, and you're already starting to see it, is the big are going to keep getting bigger. And then you're going to end up with smaller firms. The mid-sized firms are just going to disappear because they're going to get
Well,
eaten.
I think they will stay if they can be boutique.
If they can,
Very
I agree with that
very
assessment.
expensive, highly relational, but still strong enough to support that $50 million company. I think there'll be a little boutique anomaly in the middle, but the masses are going to the small
When
and
you
large.
when you have the barbell, you always have that connector,
bar,
which is the
yes.
small bar. And the thing is the better those get, the more the economics work for unbelievable things to sell to the bigger ones.
Yep.
But that bar will always exist, and that's a good thing. But what you're going to get is more small firms and more small firm owners, because when the private equity firm comes in or when that roll-up comes, it's the junior partner. It's
that are going to go
the
out and hang the shingle.
senior manager that, their job, their prospects at the Gold Star just disappeared. They're going to start their own firm, and that's where I want to support them. Now, the other piece that is kind of coming from this too is, how do you support them with the technology and the infrastructure to do it better? And I think it's great. Here's the other thing, and you want to think about starting your own firm. The bigger these firms get, you know what they all have to do? They have to chase the economics of a big firm, which means they can't work with small businesses.
Correct.
And this is something we're not talking about enough in our industry.
$5,000-$6,000 a month minimums on cash.
Right. And so the small business, that one that can pay you $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month, they are going to get left behind.
And that very business is the one that's not served well by QuickBooks Live or by H&R Block Advisors. And I think they'd be the first to admit that they want the very small. And so what do you do with these emerging businesses that are probably in the most precarious place of their business life cycle, but they can't afford the enterprise firms, and the retail stuff is too generic for them? That's your sweet spot. And we actually coach for that, Matt, as you know. That's sweet. We say it's 1 to 10 million in revenue, 3 to 6 is a sweet spot. Absolutely ideal. And I want to come back to something you said about recording you kind of mentioned the recording their past, directing their future. There's something in the middle we make a big deal about, and that's protecting their present, protecting their journey. It's a regulatory compliance, managerial compliance, risk mitigation. And I know your systems take care of that too, because I've compared notes with you and Jacob on that before.
Well, and let me say something really important here, because at Decimal, when we had our direct services business, firms were paying us $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month for controllership work, bill pay, bookkeeping, financial close. Our firm owners today are also offering advisory services, and that can double that price tag. And that $2 million, $5 million, $10 million business can accept that $5 to $7K a month price tag. And they will. And you want to know why they will? Because if they're going to get that exact same service, the best alternative to them is hire, and they're going to hire 2 people, and those 2 people are going to cost them about $180 to $200.
We talk about that all the time. Standing up an in-house finance team is cost prohibitive until you're about over 10 million with most businesses.
Do not be afraid to price to the value that you are giving people,
which includes the cost displacement of standing up that internal
100%, particularly when the alternative is $200,000 in fully baked costs.
And then you got to build it. You've got to sustain. You got to build the workflow,
you got to manage it,
all the infrastructure, all the office expense, all the ongoing research and development, all the privacy and security.
Yep.
You probably have another $10,000 a year over the first 3 years just in amortized startup costs, just to launch the crazy thing in your back office.
Too many people mentally think, am I repricing based on what Bench offered or Pilot offered or Digits offered? No, your anchor is, I'm going to hire. Work with the businesses whose realistic alternative is to hire, and those will be the ones that you can
price. Delay that hire for months or years, And
Yeah,
in some businesses that we're going to stay in the 5 to 10 million range indefinitely,
absolutely.
you mitigate that cost for them. But it all comes down to what I found, and we could go on about this forever. So I've got to ask you the last question. We got to wrap up, but you can tell Matt and I have a lot of fun, and Jacob does too, as co-founder. Whenever we are over lunch, we solve all the world's CAS problems together.
Right.
But what I found is if you're offering fully formed CAS, client advisory services that includes controllership, financial planning and analysis, as well as record keeping and some back office process operations, that when you get to that level, 0.1% of the client's annual revenue charged monthly is a great place to start thinking, not end there, but just start your thinking.
Your
So if they're a
floor.
$6 million business, $6,000 a month is a fantastic place to start with your thinking on price and then
Agreed.
adjust from there. Do you find the same
Yep.
thing, Matt?
Yeah, I find the same thing. And so would Decimal's pricing agent. I mean, it's fun how that's kind of worked and we've been able to build that in there. And um,
But
people just need to think there's a better way to do this now. And that's why, like, for the topic of the conversation, we sold our business so that we can focus on empowering small firm owners with the capabilities of a big firm.
yep. All right. So I've got one last question for you. If
Shoot.
people are interested in learning more about Decimal, where do they go?
Follow me on LinkedIn. Number one. Number two, go to decimal.com. Our announcement will go live today. And we are excited to talk to any firm owner. Even if you just want an advice on a little tidbit, reach out to me anytime. I would love to chat. I'm extremely passionate about helping people run their companies better so that they can help more businesses succeed.
All right. And if you're listening to this after the fact, that today was going to be late April 2026. We have Matt's LinkedIn profile as well as his co founder Jacob's LinkedIn profile available in the listing guide. And you can learn more about Matt and the Decimal opportunity at decimal.com. Matt will be at Scaling New Heights. He's been there for many years. He'll be there for many years to come, usually walking around with his co founder and some of his other leadership. And this year, some of your franchisees will be joining us as well. So you can get to know Matt at the conference. And I believe you're even doing a panel session in one of our power breakfasts this year. So you can come check that out as well.
Looking forward to it. And I think we have main stage one of the first 2 days to talk AI and accounting.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. So come see Matt, come see all of us at Scaling New Heights in Orlando, June 2026. Matt, it's been great to have you here.
Joe, I appreciate you as always.